Welcome back to another Insider Mailbag. I'm Jared Johnson. I'm joined by the Mighty Joe Yeager. Mighty Joe, man, we're returning from our holiday hiatus. Been off for a couple weeks from the Mailbag, but man, first off, how was your holidays and Happy New Year?
Well, thank you. Happy New Year to you and all the guys out there as well. And yeah, it was great. Nice and relaxing, pretty mellow. Some family in town, but nothing too insane. So got some good loot, gave some good loot as well, and had a good time.
What was your favorite gift you got?
Oh, good Lord. You know, there were so many, it's hard for me to come up with now. I mean, a couple of really cool jazz albums that I was looking for, I've listened to, and they turned out to be even better than I thought they were going to be. Right. Nothing over top. I didn't get any like gold rings or chains or anything like that, but just some nice little stuff here and there.
I can see you with a big gold chain, actually, like old school, like mid-'80s, like big chain link type deal.
Sure, yeah. I need like one of those satin shirts kind of unbuttoned. I have to grow some chest hair, however, if I'm going to do that, so I don't know.
It's like Al Green, basically, I see you.
All right, Jared.
Okay, let's jump into it. All right, great questions from y'all this week as normal. First one comes from GTom00. He wants to know, does Wells and crew continue to have 3 spring games, one of those being in Frisco? Yes, I confirmed with Texas Tech. They will have spring games in Frisco, Midland, and here at the Jones in Lubbock. As far as the timing and all that, I don't have that yet. I was told they're going to release that information very soon, within a couple weeks. So look for that coming out soon. But yes, they will do all 3 scrimmages this spring again. Good question. All right. Ride and Fearless wants to know, Joe, this is a question for you. His premise is that Tech is not as close to Kansas as it was last year. Feel free to disagree. Do you think the basketball team has enough offense to compete for second place in the conference? I do not respect that last question. No, no, I understand your sentiment there, but what do you think, Joe?
Yeah, you know, I mean, right now, this Texas Tech team, you know, despite all the odds, I think it's right there in terms of where it was last year. I mean, a very, very similar caliber basketball team. They don't look like they've slipped off much at all, if any. So they're right there in that category. And the other side of the equation is Kansas, obviously. Yeah. They came into the season odds-on favorite to win the whole thing, and they look mighty good. But you know what? They haven't been quite as dominant as a lot of people might expect. They beat Oklahoma last night in Lawrence, but I think only by 7 points. It was not a dominant performance by any stretch of the imagination. You know, I'm not convinced that KU is absolutely just, you know, a knockdown superior basketball team. So what I'm saying is the gap between Tech and Kansas is, I don't think it's any bigger than it was last year. There's a possibility that it may even be a little bit closer. As to the offense, well, is it good enough for Tech to compete for second? I think the question is, do you compete for the title, not second? Yeah. I think they're probably the favorite right now as the second best team in the conference. And the offense is what it is. I mean, Tech is just going to have to scratch and claw and manufacture points however it can. But the defense is what they're going to win with. You hold serve on the backboards, and you're in it. That's the formula, and it's worked so far.
Yeah, I find it interesting that Tech, first off, I think the reason why the question is asked is I think Kansas is perceived to be better this year than they were last year, and that's probably true. I don't. They're different. Both teams are different. Tech may be actually better on defense than they were last year. I don't know what the stats are, but it's hard to get much better than they've been this year. I mean, they're #1 in the country in like almost every statistical category, and they showed what they're capable of against elite competition against Duke already. So, and obviously now we know it definitely will travel. As Tech picked up the win in Morgantown, the historic win in Morgantown. So we'll have to see. All right. Texas Tech, Austin wants to know who wins the national championship first, Beard or Tadlock? We kind of talked about this in the basketball video earlier in the week, but man, both teams seem to be just knocking on the door. Joe, what do you think?
Right. You know, I'm going to go with Tadlock for the simple reason that I mean, I think this coming season they've got about as good a shot as anybody. You know, to win it. I mean, you know, you can probably, they're ranked #4, I saw in one preseason poll. You know, when you're at that level, you can kind of throw a blanket over several teams and say they all got a shot. Yeah. You know, so it wouldn't shock me if they won the whole thing next year. And I think Tech basketball could be a year or 2 away from reaching that pinnacle. So I would give a slight advantage to Tadlock.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, I flip-flop on this question. I looked at this, and first I was like, oh, I'm going to go with basketball because, like we mentioned in the basketball video, just hypothetically, I don't think he's going to, but hypothetically, if Culver came back next year, I mean, I think they'd be the favorites in the Big 12. Yeah. And if you're the favorites in the Big 12, then you're expected to go to the Final Four or get close. You know what I mean? And be a competitor for the national championship and all that. So, ooh,
if Culver comes back, man, I mean, that changes things.
And we're using it as a hypothetical. We've prefaced it by saying we don't expect him to come back, but crazier things have happened. Let's be honest. All right, I'm gonna go with baseball though, like you said, because they are a top 5 team, and I mean, they've been to the World Series, what, 3 out of the last 5 years? They're just right there. They're so close. Last year they did it without their ace too. I mean, for the whole season. So I believe in Tadlock as much as I believe in Chris Beard. All right, next question comes from JBTT Red Raider. Wants to know what's up with the men's basketball graduates of 2018. Well, I'll start off with Keenan Evans. He is playing, first off, he was signed to a 2-way contract with the Detroit Pistons. He's also with the Grand Rapids, what is it? The Drive, yes, which is pretty cool look, mascot. He was injured some, of course, coming off his broken foot, but he's been playing for Grand Rapids, and I believe he scored a career-high 30 points just like a week ago in a big win for the Drive. So he's on that, D or G League, I always still call it D League, the G League contract right now. But I think we're just any day now, and definitely by next year, don't be surprised you see Keenan Evans suiting up for the Detroit Pistons in the NBA. So I'm really looking forward to that. All right, who do you have, Joe? Who's the first guy you want to talk about?
Let me see. Well, Justin Gray. He's playing in Great Britain right now for a team called the Bristol Flyers. Yeah. He's one of their best players. He may be their best player right now. He's getting a second most minutes of anybody on the team, averaging 14 points, I think, and about 5 rebounds a game. And of course, being Justin Gray, coming from the Chris Beard stable, he plays defense. Oh. So they love that as well over there. So that's what he's up to right now.
I love Justin Gray. He's one of my favorite people in my entire career I've ever come across. He's a great human being, and he's one of those guys I think is going to be just successful, whatever. This just so happens to be he's playing basketball right now. I'm going to stay in the British leagues there. Naeem Stevenson is a guy that he was supposed to go at Leicester. He was actually signed a contract. I'm probably butchering that, but how do you pronounce it?
I think it may be Leicester.
Leicester?
Even though it's spelled Leicester, yeah, I think they pronounce it like Worcester as opposed to Worcester.
So Leicester sauce, Worcestershire sauce. Yeah, anyways, a British team he signed with. Anyway, you can look it up, Naeem Stevenson, where he signed in the summer, but he's not on the roster right now. I haven't seen any stats registered for him. And even his last Instagram post was New Year's from Dallas. So I don't know exactly what Naeem is up to, but I'll check into it with Texas Tech. I guarantee you Chris Beard knows what's going on with Naeem, and we'll have an update for you with him. Who do you got next, Joe?
Then Zach Smith was. I'm pretty sure this is still current that he's with the G League team affiliate for the Charlotte Hornets, the Greensboro Swarm. He's played in all 19 games so far, averaging, I think, like 3 points, 3 boards a game, and I'm sure he's just going to continue to develop over time.
Yeah, I love Zach, too. He's best thing about Zach is he didn't talk a lot, but when he said something, he always said something like, it made you, yeah. A lot of guys, we talk, say the coach speak or the player speak, and you're like, okay, there's just nothing really in here. But Zach said very little, but when he said something, you're like, whoa, okay,
Yep.
So I'm not surprised he's doing well either. All right, Zaire Smith's a big one, obviously. He had the fractured foot, and he had the weird allergy thing. Just had a string of bad luck as far as health-wise. Of course, he's getting paid big, but this kind of blew me away. I forgot. Elton Brand is the Sixers GM,
right.
Which made me feel really old. Of course, former Duke standout and Chicago Bull, longtime NBA player. Sixers, of course. He said recently, I think over the holidays or at least in December, that look, Zaire's return is imminent this season. He will come back this season. He's been in the gym at 5 a.m. practicing, which I think comes as a surprise to nobody who knows Zaire. He's going to play this year. Now, he'll probably start off, get some seasoning in the G League, but I expect him to play NBA basketball this year. So that was really good news to hear.
I wonder if Zaire and Elton were sitting side by side during the Tech-Duke game. What do you think?
Whoa. I bet they had some kind of side bet. You know what I mean?
So, I saw Zaire on TV. I mean, he was about 4 seats or 4 rows up, something like that. cheering on the Red Raiders.
Yeah.
And then I guess the other guy is Tommy Hamilton.
Yeah.
And, you know, frankly, I sent out feelers to the guys in the basketball program. I haven't heard anything back yet. Couldn't find anything out either. He had been with the San Antonio Spurs Summer League team for a while, but was not with that organization anymore as far as I know. So kind of the same boat with Naeem, just a little bit not sure exactly what's going on.
You know, and they may be taking a breather or something, or maybe they one or both of them want to get into coaching, or you know, those guys will do something. And we'll have updates on both Tommy and Naeem for you at some point down the line. But it's not going to be one of those guys where I don't think where we never hear from them again. They'll have some kind of job and affiliation with the sport, because they both, man, they're basketball lifers. They love basketball. Red Raider grad wants to know, what do we think the odds are with Stephen Parker now that he has official scheduled playing with Kansas, Nebraska, and UCLA? Yeah, I actually caught up with Stephen Parker. He's the 4-star defensive end for South Oak Cliff that was committed for a long time, but decommitted after the coaching change. I assume most of y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. You know, he took an OV official visit here right before the early signing period, but pushed back his signing, which it was never a done deal that he was definitely going to sign early. He said he thought he wanted to, but wasn't sure going into it. So, but bottom line is, him adding visits, that doesn't increase Texas Tech's odds, that's for sure. You know what I mean? But I caught up with him. He said Texas Tech is very much involved. He's hearing from, what's happened with Parker was everybody knows the talent, but once it was for sure that he qualified, and then with the coaching change, now it's like blood's in the water. You know, he told me that he's almost constantly being called, text, and sent direct messages. I posted that on the board, and I think the initial reaction was, well, you can fix all that by choosing the good guys. And I understand that sentiment, but I think this is, you know, I try and stress this all the time, Joe, to people, that you can't put a blanket statement in recruiting. You really can't. I think that's a mistake. Every recruitment is different and is unique, and Stephen Parker certainly has been unique. I mean, he has the elements of having grown up here in Lubbock and loving Lubbock. His grandmother, who he loves dearly, still lives here. He has friends out here, and so he was committed here for a long time. He stayed committed to Tech despite all the Texases and the A&Ms and all of them coming out of the woodwork to offer him when it became known that he became eligible out of loyalty. But then once the coaching staff got replaced, it's like, well, where does the loyalty lie? You know what I mean? Yeah, right. So you can't blame him. But then he's heard out Wells and the new staff, even though they didn't have a defensive line coach till recently. Look, bottom line is, I understand where Parker's coming from. You know, Emmett Jones, kind of a mentor from South Oak Cliff, has gone on to Kansas, so he's going to go check Kansas out. He's told me he knows almost nothing about Kansas, other than Emmett Jones is there, and they're a basketball school, which I think is what a lot of people know about Kansas. Yeah, you know, right. I think he's trying to be honest about it. I think he's trying to go about it with, you know, eyes open. He has a lot of people in his ear right now, which a guy like him normally does. Texas Tech doesn't get a guy like Stephen Parker normally, at least recently. I think they have a very good chance still. My crystal ball is still with Texas Tech. He's not a guy that just because he's going to go to Kansas on his last official visit, that's definitely where he's going to go. But then again, would I be shocked if he signed with Kansas after going and visiting with Emmett Jones being there? No, I would not be. This is not ironclad. I don't think Stephen Parker knows for sure where he's going right now, having talked with him. I've talked with him a lot for years at this point. Look, Tech still has a shot. The fact that he is going on these new visits does not help your cause. Absolutely not. Would have been best if he wrapped it up and he signed in the early period, but he didn't. Here we are. The Red Raiders are going to continue to contact him and recruit him every day, and I think they have a good shot, Joe. That's where we're at. But great stuff from you as always. Great questions from y'all, and until next time.